Hey y'all, it's Carol with paintingtogether.com. Welcome to day 3 of our 12 Days of Christmas free mini tutorials. I got it right that time. Golly, it's a tongue twister. I hope that you enjoy it. This is another fun one, and it's always fun painting, and I enjoy sharing the art with you folks, and I hope that you are enjoying painting along with me. So let's get to painting. Okay, so I'm making a coaster. It could be a decoration, I guess, and you could even twist it into, put the picture on that way. But I wanted to make it into a coaster, so I'm going to start. I sealed the sides already, and the reason for that is it's just easier to have those done than to try to fight with the sides while I was trying to show you the video. So I recommend sealing the sides first, just like I did. And I'm doing this sky first in just some plain old white. This is a 1/2 inch acrylic synthetic hairbrush. Not hairbrush, not for hair, you know what I mean. Okay, we're just going to fill the sky. Because this is wood, it absorbs it really fast. So before it has a chance to dry, I want to come in and put some blue in my sky, because otherwise we're not going to get any color on that. It's going to absorb, and I'll have to put another layer of white on it. You could pre-seal your wood by painting a layer on it first, which you can do, but since I'm using a good quality paints, I know that they are going to be a little bit absorbed, but still cover you can tell that it's covering very well. Sometimes those cheap paints, especially whites and yellows and violets in the cheaper brands, they just are really transparent. There's not enough pigment, too many fillers. So I usually use, for teaching classes, I use either Deco Art Americana, which is very well pigmented for student grade. I use Lucas, which is also very well pigmented. And then, of course, for my regular art, I have a lot of golden and such. Okay, let's dip into a little bit of this Ultramarine Blue. Is one of my favorite colors. It's a little bright, so what I'm going to do is dip into a little bit of Paynes Gray, kind of wipe most of it off, and that's just going to tone down my Ultramarine Blue just a little bit. I just don't want it to be quite so bright. I want it to be dark enough that my snowman stands out, but I don't want it to be that bright blue that we were getting. I'm doing this wispy movement because I want it to look like wind, but you could do any movement that you want. See how I picked up a little extra blue right there, and that was okay because in our sky we want a little variety, right? So that gives us a little variety. And back here, let's say that that's not sky, but that's more snow. So we're going to take some white and just make that a little hill of snow. Okay. Okay. I'm going to fill these edges right here. Just so that it doesn't have that complete white edge back, around it. It'll look better as a coaster to have a little bit of color around the edges anyway. Okay. Now back to the top and just smooth any paint that came over the edges, okay? See how you can play with this and darken little areas or add some a little more color here and there. That's what makes it fun and interesting. Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and dip into my white and do this forward snow while we're at it. There's a lot of white on this one, but once we put the shading and the colors in, it's going to look really good. It's actually one of my most popular little prints. I'm kind of using this as a guide. That's a watercolor. Well, actually, yeah, that one is a watercolor that I painted a long time ago, several years ago. And it is a popular print at Christmas time for me. Just because it's so lovey-dovey. It's called Frosty Love. Okay, you can shadow your snow a little bit. Maybe from around this edge a little bit. And just throw a little color on there every now and then. And it makes it look like shadows. So that's it for my big brush. I'm going to switch to my little guy, which is just a number 2, I believe. Yeah, number 2 round. And let's see here what we can do. We can go ahead and put some shadows under our snowman. We want some kind of obvious shadows under. So I'm going to go into my Paynes Gray. You can use black. I just like Paynes Gray because it's not as dulling as black is. Black is very dull when you mix it with something. It sort of steals the brightness of whatever that color is. So to me, Paynes Gray is a preferred option. I'm going to go on to this Christmas tree because he's making some shadows too. As you noticed, I used my pen, actually just my Pilot pen, to do the eyes. I don't think it's going to run when I paint the white on it. Don't hold me to it, but I don't think it's going to run. It's just really hard to paint those little details, and I thought it might help to have it pre-drawn with a pen where I had better control of my hand. I'm pretty good with a paintbrush, but I wanted to demonstrate something to you guys that would be easier to do than trying to make little tiny fine round eyes. He looks like he's patched up. He's been to the hospital. See, he's got a little bandage on his face. Oh, my dear. Let's see whether I can see his eyes after I paint over it. Ooh, that's close. No, it is running just a little bit. Check it out. Okay, so that was not the right solution. I did not have a super fine India ink would work, of course, but I didn't have a super fine Sharpie, which also would have worked. And that stuff will bleed through like forever. So don't ever use it if you're intending to paint over it with acrylics and you don't want it to be seen, because as soon as the acrylic dries, boy, that thing will be right back. I can just draw his eyes back onto the pen when we get done, but I do recommend maybe using a Sharpie or some kind of a permanent ink to paint his eyes on. Just because doing it with this fine paintbrush is fairly trying. Try not to go over the ink too much since we figured out it runs. A little snowman couple in love. white. We'll fix those eyes a little bit. I just want that to dry first. And while it's wet, I'm going to grab a little bit of this Paynes Gray and just shadow this face just a little bit, not a lot. Under the hat a little bit. I got some blue on my brush still. I think I must have had that still in the pan. I actually want a little more Paynes Gray than blue. A little bit under his chin, and we're going to smooth that in a minute. Same under her chin. A little darker under the hat. Now, let's see. I've got another brush. Yeah, that's a pencil. Yeah, I can smooth it with a clean brush. It's best if you can smooth it with a clean brush, or rinse out your brush and come back at it with a rinsed brush, and it will let you smooth it out a little bit, as long as it's not dry on you. I'm going to have to mix some more white in there because it's just too dark. Whoa, that's too much white. I just want it to blend downwards and have a little bit of color. A little bit of shadow so that it shows that it's round, right? I want it to look round. We'll put some little rosy cheeks on them. That'll be really cute too. Okay, see how just brushing over it just eventually does smooth it out. Okay. Okay, a little red on the cheeks. You can brush that with your finger. Just touching a little bit with your finger blends it out. Remember, you can always cover it if you don't like the way it looks or if it turns out wrong or something. We're going to let that dry while we go ahead and work on the hat. These can be sealed with several things, and I'll explain that a little bit in a while, but if you're going to use it as a coaster, it has to be able to handle heat, and so Mod Podge won't work. I usually recommend something like a polyurethane, but the best thing is actually like a spray paint. They have clear spray paint, and it handles the heat pretty well, up to 200 degrees, which should be enough to hold a coffee cup, because the water may be 200, but the bottom of the cup won't be that hot. She has a little hat, even though it's a little different than his. And then we're going to put their scarves in. I'll paint the little end of the scarf after I paint the body. Okay. Now, while this is still wet, I like to grab a little bit of Paynes Gray to create some shadows. And the shadows on the hat would normally be right about there. Maybe there's a little fold up here. Maybe a little fold right here. These shadows can make it just look so real instead of cartoony, right? And we'll even add little highlights on it later, but right now, just getting some shadows on here. I'm going to put the shadows on the scarf after I paint the body. So I'm going to get the body in there right now. Put a blob of white and spread it around. It's okay if you go over your scarf just a little bit because the red will definitely cover the white. So don't worry too much about it, but you might want to, if you're afraid that you're not going to be able to draw these little arms because they're kind of holding hands, if you're worried about that, go ahead and when you do the face, draw the arms in so that you don't lose the arms and that little cuteness of them holding hands or holding branches, whatever, holding twigs. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing we did on their faces. We're going to come around and shadow a little bit on the body while it's still wet. You can add a little blue color into that if you want, just for interest. Sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of a variety of color. But just coming around the edges like this, it makes it look round. And that's what we're going for. So we want it to appear round. Now I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Get my color on. Clean my brush. Wipe my brush on the paper towel so I've removed almost all the moisture from it. And then come back and blend this out a little bit. You can come back and add a little more shadow. And the dry brush, if your brush is starting to dry, that's called a dry brush effect, and it's actually pretty nice. It's I like the way that looks. Maybe a little shadow under the scarf. A little more shadow under her chin. And you notice that their faces are a little not very white. It's because when I mixed those colors, it didn't leave the face very white. So we're going to brighten up the faces a little bit. Okay, once we put the nose on there, it's going to look a lot better. They remind me of old couples that have been married like, 50, 60 years, and they look at each other still with this amazing, loving look. It's the kind of look that comes from being through hard times and sticking it out and growing closer. Okay, I'm going to get in the orange and do our little noses. She's got a little nose. He's got a bigger nose. Okay, now let's do these scarves. Probably should have done that after I did that tree, but it's done, it's done. Okay, well that dries for a minute. We'll put our little tree in. A little yellow on top of his nose, by the way, will tone that down so it doesn't look quite so red. It's just looked a little too red. There we go. That's more carroty. While I'm at it, by the way, let's go ahead and put some little highlights on our hat. And put our little white rim on it. Maybe a little puff ball at the end. Okay, let's do the tree. I've got a very dark green, and I'm going to just do the whole tree in green and then put some snow on it, okay? And if you look at the shapes that I'm creating, I'm trying not to do this. This is what a lot of people do when they do a tree. That does not look like a tree, okay? So what we're going to do is sometimes a branch will stick out a little further. Sometimes it doesn't. The overall shape of the tree is that it's getting whiter as it goes down, but it's not always the same length all the way around. It varies. One branch is shorter, one branch is longer. And if you do that, it will look much more realistic. I suppose you could do this kind of cartoony like and just do a triangle, and that's okay. Everybody's got their style. My paintings tend to be just a little more on the realistic side because that's my style. I thought maybe we should throw a little tree back here too, because we need him to stand out just a little bit. The little snowman is getting buried against that white sky, and this will help him stand out better. Having a little tree back there. Could do another one right here if you want. They say always do your trees in threes and in odd numbers, 3, 5, 7, 1. Don't know why they say that, but they do say it. I think it's the eye. It just wants Doesn't want everything to be even when it comes to art. Putting a little bit of dark Paynes Gray down at the bottom here. Even going into my shadow a little bit. And I'm just going to tap in a little occasional Paynes Gray here. Just so that there's darker areas under some of my snow. And while I've got that on my brush, I'm wiping it off on the paper towel. And then coming over here and dry brushing a little more shadow under our snow couple. Right here where they meet together, there needs to be a little more shadow. And don't they need little buttons on their outfits? I almost forget. A little snowman with a stone button, right? Oops, I cleaned it too soon. I forgot to shadow the neck scarf. You don't have to be real complicated about this. I'm just throwing in a little darkness on it to give it a 3D look towards the bottom, right against the body. Putting a little bit of shadow on the bottom of that hat. And let's see, we were going to draw the lines in with the pen, right? So I won't do the pen right now. Blue. Just add a little blue into this here. And then we'll put the snow on our trees, outline our eyes again, and I think we'll be done. Let's see if we can get a little snow out of here. Remember to leave some green when you put your snow on. You want to be able to see your green. And remember to make your shapes odd, you know, so it comes down here. This one comes over here. It's okay if it's thick on your paintbrush. That actually gives it a bit of a 3D effect, so kind of works for me. There is no pattern to this necessarily. I'm just trying to imagine where the branches are and putting snow on them. On the tops of them and leaving the bottom a little hanging out from under the snow. We'll do the same to these ones in the back, just a little bit. It doesn't take a lot of detail for the further ones, just because they are further back. Okay, let's put our little arms on. There we go. They're holding hands. Very carefully outlining my eyes. As if I slip, that puppy's going to stay. Remember to make her eyes look up and his eyes look down. That's that whole adoring look thing that they got going on. Be a great gift for like a grandma and grandma that have been married forever. Is there anything else? You can highlight little parts that maybe you feel got too dark on the face. If you think the face was a little too dark, you can put a little more white on it. Sometimes I use my finger to smooth something. Maybe the edge of her face should be a little whiter. There we go, where it just stands out a little bit. We lost his eyebrows. We lost our paint too. There we go. I think it's done. That turned out really cute. Cute little Mr. and Mrs. Snowman. The painting, the original painting, is called Frosty Love. If you decide to use this as an ornament, all you do is take your string. That's why I had this string laying here. If I can find an end. Okay, if you decide to use this as an ornament, you just cut yourself a piece of string and you tie a little knot in it. And then you glue it on the back with hot glue. So you stick it back here with hot glue and that'll hang like that, okay? So that's if you decide to make an ornament out of it instead of a coaster, okay? Lots of options. Okay, for sealing it, a wipe-on polyurethane is good. As far as handling the heat, the best thing is like a wood varnish. I was trying to make this affordable. You might paint 5 or 6 of these and make it great for gifts, which makes it worth going and picking up, you know, a spray. A high heat enamel spray, which come in clear also. But like I said, just Rust-Oleum glaze is pretty good. It's $6.88 at Walmart. And it does handle up to 200 centigrade, which is enough to handle a hot tea sitting on it. But it does need several coats, not just one coat, but several coats. And I would probably paint the back and maybe sign it and put 2025 Christmas or something, especially if you're giving it as a gift. You can sign your name, put 2025 on it. So anyway, I hope you had fun. Wasn't that fun? I enjoyed that one a lot. It was fun to paint and fun to imagine y'all following along with me. So we will see you tomorrow for number 4 of our 12 Days of Christmas mini painting tutorials. I don't know why it gets harder to say every day. At any rate, I will see you tomorrow. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And otherwise, follow. And we will see you tomorrow. You can visit paintingtogether.com for a lot of tutorials. And I also have art kits available now at my store at carolrobinking.com. Art kits are a great gift to send to your friends. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.